My journey is to truly help people learn how to believe in themselves, that they are magnificent and divine, reawaken who they've always been, but may have forgotten. Our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. Without knowing it, people are fearful of tapping into that power again for the fear of misusing it. I call them the I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable enough, I'm not worthy enough. So we develop all of these bad feelings about ourselves. Well, the brain knows that we can't function like that and contribute to society walking around with those feelings. So what it does, it creates all different defense mechanisms to hide and shield us from those feelings. You cannot shine when you have darkness inside of you. The secret that's holding you back, become unstoppable.
The episode you're about to watch has been republished. My podcast channel reaches a lot more people now, and there's certain episodes that have slipped under the radar, and I wanted to bring them up for your attention because I truly feel they are worth listening to. So please be sure to let me know what you think of this episode in the comments below. And of course, let's continue to connect. Let me know where you are in the world and where you're listening and tuning in from. I love reading it. It's amazing, isn't it, that we can do this? And the other thing I want to say as well is find out where we are if you want to put your spiritual boots on and come and join us at one of our 5-day retreats or one-day events around the world. Links are below as well if you want to find out more what we're up to. Much love from me. Enjoy. Vincent, welcome to the podcast.
Oh my gosh, Guy, thank you for inviting me. I feel so special coming all the way over there to Australia and everywhere else that you're reaching.
Yeah, what an honor, mate. What an honor. I love to ask everyone on the show, because it's a great place to start, that if you were, say, traveling to Australia tomorrow and you were sitting on an aeroplane next to a stranger and they asked you what you did for a living, what would you say?
Well, I would try to keep that stranger away because by the time I'm done, they should be sleeping and we should arrive in Australia by then. So the long and the short of it is I am a psychic therapist, medium, spiritual teacher, and author. And my journey is to truly help people learn how to believe in themselves, that they are magnificent and divine, reawaken who they've always been, but may have forgotten. And I do the best I can using my skills and my abilities to be able to get in there and help them really unblock things. Like my book, The Secret That's Holding You Back, the tagline to that is become unstoppable, what's holding you back. And I try to help them remove everything that's holding them back. So
Wow.
That's basically what I do in a nutshell.
Do you feel, just going on a side note, that people want to become awakened, or do you think we are terrified of it?
Everything and above, and there's in between as well. And here's what I mean by that. There is definitely those group of people that want to be awakened, and they're the obvious ones. They're the ones that will listen to your podcast, will listen to me because they're intentionally wanting to hear more, right? And so they're on that spiritual journey, that spiritual quest. Then on the opposite side of the track are those people that don't want anything to do with this because they are afraid. As a matter of fact, Marianne Williamson wrote it the best in her book, Return to Love. And it's a whole paragraph. And I advise anybody to go look this up. You can find it on my website as a video. You can go to YouTube and Google it. And it's our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we're powerful beyond measure. And then it goes on to tell why and what we should do about that. And the thing is, Guy, is when we originally were here on this planet, way before, anything is written down or that idea and the Adam and Eve stuff and all of that, there was still two different worlds, Lemuria and Atlantis. At least those were the words that were named and tagged onto those time periods, right? And what we had learned is that during that Atlantis time period, we were kind of like a bunch of kids let loose at Toys R Us. By the way, that's a toy store that was over here in the United States without any adult supervision. So we went and played with everything, and eventually we started misusing all our powers, and we destroyed everything on the planet, including our physical bodies. And so we had to redo it another way, okay? To me, that is ingrained, and that is in all souls that were involved there, which is all of them except the angels and archangels. They're the only ones that did not incarnate on this planet. And then we call them angels and archangels. Other cultures have different names for them and labels. But that is inside of us and the memory of that. So without knowing it, people are fearful of tapping into that power again for the fear of misusing it. And here is the proof of that. There was a gentleman, a very highly evolved gentleman who incarnated here over 2023 years ago. Okay. And before he started his mission to help people, he went wandering through the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, right, to get it together. Mm-hmm. And we have written that a devil or some demon tempted him 3 times, when in fact, it was his own inner demons that he had to deal with. The idea of tapping into his power and the plan that he had that he was going to use with it, the idea that he was going to change the world and help it in some way, that scared the heck out of him. It didn't make a difference what we want to think of this being when he incarnated here. He incarnated as a human, and humans have fears, and they forget that they're these spiritual beings. He was waking up to it. So that's that group of people who fear misusing it again, that it's going to change them in some way, or that people aren't going to like them because of their power and tapping into it. Then there's the middle group of people who want that enlightenment, but don't know that they want it. They're walking in that direction. They act correctly in life, but they have no idea that they're on that spiritual journey. They haven't awakened their consciousness to it, but their unconscious minds, their soulful minds, have been taking over and leading them in that direction. Eventually, those 2 groups, the fearful ones and the ones that don't know that they want that spiritual understanding and growth, have to come to wake up to it some way or another. So it's the other group over here that has to help these 2 groups over here. Does that explain it well enough, Guy?
It does, Vincent. And I was definitely in the middle group for myself personally.
Really? Yeah.
I was just getting drawn to something that
right.
I could not articulate. I could not put my finger on. I don't know why. I don't know why I don't fit in. I don't know why I want to leave my country. I don't know, like, why? That's all.
Right.
All I asked. And it was challenging. And I'm curious, which did you fit in of the 3 on your journey when starting out? Because you had a background in acting and theater, you said.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
I wasn't ever afraid of this. I didn't know that I knew. Okay. I didn't know what I knew and that I knew. When I was a kid, I would get in trouble with my parents and a lot of adults because as a youngster, I'm talking as soon as I was able to talk, I involved myself in adult conversation. I didn't care about what the kids had to say. I cared about what the adults had to say. And so I would constantly interject and interrupt them with some kind of words, advice, whatever. My mother used to knock me in the head because of it. My uncle nicknamed me the little professor. So, of course, as a kid, I didn't know why I was saying what I was saying. When I was an altar boy, because that, of course, is an Italian rule. If you are Roman Catholic and Italian and you live in New York, you must become an altar boy if you have a son there. Got to be an altar boy. I used to argue with the priests at 13 years old that they were teaching about God and Jesus the wrong way. They were teaching the wrong stuff about. And they used to be fascinated that I was so young and I'm having these conversations with them, but telling them that they were wrong. And meanwhile, my parents thought that I was condemning them to hell because I was arguing with the priest. So that would get me in trouble. But I didn't know what I knew back then. And then this awakening happened to me. And Guy, it was as if a dam broke. That's the best way I can describe it. When a dam, what does a dam do? A dam is holding back water already. It's not holding water that isn't there. It's holding water that is there. And then sometimes there could be so much pressure, or that dam just weakens in some way. They gets a crack in it, and that water comes pouring through. That's exactly what happened to me. So obviously the information had to have been there to start with, because when I had that spiritual awakening, it was pouring through and it wouldn't stop from that point. And I knew nothing about the stuff I was speaking and what was coming through me. And then the psychic part started. And I certainly did not plan to be a psychic at all. Those were loony, crazy people from California. That's all I knew about psychics. Or on a highway, every so often, you would see a palm up, Sister Sarah, come for a psychic reading. I'm like, what? I can't go around with the hand up. What am I supposed to be? Brother Vinny? Or better yet, Cousin Vinny. Cousin Vinny, come for a reading. The Cousin Vinny. That I was not expecting that at all. And then that was thrust upon me, or it opened up. And so my world was rocked at that point.
Do you mind sharing what happened then? Like, did you invite it in? Was there a catalyst? How old were you?
I didn't know I invited it in. That's for sure. I wasn't one of those people who was like, oh, I want to speak to all the angels and the deceased loved ones out there. Come to me now. No, I wasn't that at all. What happened was, an enemy of mine from school, because I was the completely tormented one in school. I was bullied every single day. I had to run home from school. If I didn't run home, the kids would beat me up when they caught me in school. They would shove me in the locker, head flushed in toilets, throwing my books all over the place, shooting spitballs on me, spitting on me, peeing on me. All those kinds of things were going on, right? And so the guy who used to cause the antagonism was the class clown and the super jock. So you put those two together, he was really popular, okay? And all he had to do was say my name long and drawn out, Vinny. No matter where he was, whether we were in a class and taking a test, whether we were in the hallway waiting to go to class, he would just say my name, and that was the cue for everybody to start picking on me and jump on me, okay? All the jocks, everybody. Well, since I was an actor, and I will say that I was in the movie Grease as a singer, actor, and dancer. That was my biggest claim to fame. And of course, we know the blockbuster it turned into right away. And so a couple of years after it was released, I had my 10-year high school reunion. And at that time, I became the little star of my town. You know, I wasn't a major player in the movie, but it didn't matter. I was in the movie and I came from this small town. So I was famous, kind of like that. And so at the reunion, all the kids that used to pick on me came around me. They were hugging me. They were sitting at my table. It was like a Cinderella story instead of Cinderella. They just treated me like I was the prince at the ball. And then he, my enemy, came running up to me, yelling my name the exact same way. The room froze. He grabbed me in a bear hug, and he wouldn't let me go. So he became, from that point on, one of my closest friends.
Wow.
And his life was in crisis, but I was the only one who knew that. And I didn't know at that time why I knew it. I just knew that he was BSing me every time he was saying, oh, his life was great. His wife is beautiful. He has 3 kids. He married his childhood sweetheart. Great job. Expensive condo in Connecticut. And I was like, something's wrong here. I knew something was wrong. So after spending a weekend with him, my wife and I were invited to his condo in Connecticut. Of course, his family wasn't there. They were off supposedly visiting someplace. And I, on the way home, was in tears because my heart was breaking, because I knew something was wrong, but he wasn't sharing it, and he wasn't sharing it with anybody else, and I didn't know what to do. I was an actor. Most actors go for therapy. They don't give therapy, okay? So I cried out to God. That's what I did. It was the only time I ever pleaded. It was such a plea. God, you've got to help me with some way to be able to help him. Give me the ability to help him and other people like him. I didn't pray for him. I prayed that God gave me. I don't know. I know now why I did that. But back then I questioned, why did I say a prayer like that? Why would I ask God to help me help him? I didn't know that there was something unconscious going on and that my soul was taking over. It was within a week of that prayer, the most unbelievable paranormal things started happening to me in a 3-month period consecutively, just going on and on and on and on. There were psychics being introduced to me. The psychics are telling me I'm going to be a spiritual teacher. I'm not going to be an actor, that I'm going to have all of these paranormal gifts that are going to be waking up inside of me, that I was going to be teaching people within 7-year time, and that it was going to change their lives, and that I would be speaking to the world, and that I would be doing things like this. And I'm like, what, are you crazy? Then I started seeing dead people, and I was hearing people in the house that were spirits, and I was thinking what people were thinking, and I was knowing what they were going to do and what they did where I didn't know that information before. And then tons. And this, I'm telling you, this was like a daily thing, and craziness, and all of this information about life, about who we are, about the God source, about the universe, about extraterrestrials, about every single thing you can think of that when you go on a spiritual journey you're looking for, was flooding in my head. My wife didn't know. Thank goodness she was with me since I was 17 years old. She knew I didn't know any of that stuff. She had no idea what was happening, but she knew that the stuff I was coming out with was profound, and something was going on. So we used to go to the bookstores, and we used to go to the sections. Now, back in those days, the self-help sections and the spiritual sections were called occult, the occult sections. So we would go in there and we'd just pick up randomly different books, the teachings of the masters of the Far East or the Bhagavad Gita, and we would just randomly go through these books, and all of a sudden we'd stop on a page that had verbatim, word for word, what I had said earlier, written right there in the book. It didn't make a difference what book it was from. Every spiritual book with every spiritual author, I was speaking those words. And that's what let us know something big is going on here. And it changed our lives completely, but it was not something I thought I planned.
Wow.
I didn't know I was going to have that thrust upon me by asking that, but it was the first time I had a very unselfish thought. I wanted to help somebody, and that unselfish, caring, loving thought, boom, just allowed it to happen, which I now know was a complete plan, including choosing the people who were going to torment me, including my parents, because they were tormentors as well, to get me to this level, and so that I would be able to relate to everybody else who's had some kind of story. And we all have, right, Guy? Right?
Yeah. Beautiful.
So that's how it happened to me.
Yeah. Well, there's 2 questions I got to close the loops on, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
The 2 questions is one, being tormented by your friends all through school to then go to a reunion. Many people would have been very resentful and not even forgiven the person, I would imagine. Everybody asks me that, but when I look back, there was always something inside of me that didn't allow me to hate anybody. Yes, could I have been one of those kids that picked up the gun and went into the school and shot everybody? But I didn't go there. I don't know why I didn't go there. Part of me believed them that that there was something wrong with me, of course. And then part of me was so arrogant that I was like, well, they're all wrong. I'm special, and they're all wrong. But what really kept me going is that special part. I was extremely talented as a kid. I had a great voice. I'm Sicilian, and a lot of Sicilians become opera singers, right? If they sing at all. And so I had that voice, and then I had the acting skill. So the applause that I was receiving kind of kept me balanced. It actually kept me from committing suicide, and it gave me some sense of value. And the kids couldn't take that away from me. They beat me up. Matter of fact, they would all come to see my shows, applaud and give me standing ovations, and then beat me up in school the next morning, because they were jealous over the fact that, well, I found out they were jealous. I didn't know why they beat me up. I thought that they liked me after that, but then they would beat me up because they found out that they were jealous of me. But that kept me going. So that kept me from hating anybody.
And so what's interesting, Guy, because of that and what you just pointed out, that's what allowed them to embrace me even more so. All of my bullies from the past are my greatest fans and followers now. And they dedicated, I went to the 10-year reunion, the 20, the 30, and the 40-year reunion, and they dedicated the reunions to me because of wanting to apologize in that way. They used to party with me and dance with me, and they would just wanted me to know that they were so sorry for the way that they treated me and for the fact that I let them off the hook. They could not believe. As a matter of fact, one of my enemies just moved to North Carolina a couple of years ago to be near me and my wife. And we were together since 4th grade, and he abused me the entire time, all the way up until high school and in high school. And so because I let him off the hook, he just could forgive himself. And he loved me for being able to do that. And that's what most of them did. They loved me because I was able to love them in spite of. That's what unconditional love does. That's what I believe. I had unconditional love for them without knowing it again. Yeah. But somehow, some way that helped to heal them, and they appreciated that in me.
Yeah, beautiful. And the second question was that I just wanted to point out was that you feel the awakening happened because your intention behind it was pure? It wasn't about you.
Yeah. And I didn't know that. But, part of me, while this was happening, right, and all of this was awakening, I was questioning myself. Wait a minute. Am I having these grandiose ideas about myself because I need something to make me feel good about what I went through when I was younger? And why did I have to ask for the abilities? Why did I have to ask for them? Why didn't I just let God help him? Why did I have to be involved in it? Is there something selfish in that? So I had always had, and I still to this day, I keep asking God, please let me know I'm not a narcissist. Please let me know I don't have these grandiose ideas about myself, because I like the words that come to me. That's one. But I like how I say them and speak them to others and make others feel. That's important to me because there are so many speakers of these words out there. And it's interesting. There is a part in the Bible. I am not religious. I'm spiritual. So when you look at spiritual books with spiritual eyes, you get a whole different meaning from them. And there's one parable that says there will be those people who look pretty, they wear the right cloaks, they say the right words, but they are not walking their talk. Those words are not inside their heart. And therefore, any of the words they speak fall by the wayside. They don't have meaning and they don't have effect on people, even if they're the right words. And I see so much of that in the world today, even in my field. There's a lot of practitioners that need more help than the people they're thinking they're helping, right? And so to me, it was most important that I walked that talk because I didn't want those words to fall by the wayside. And so I had to like myself. I had to like what I was doing to make sure that what I was saying would have the right effect on people. Because when you come from a place of not loving yourself and not liking yourself, then you do things to try to gain that love, right? And then they become very unintentionally selfish in a bad way. Okay. And that's where it becomes egotistical, as people would use, and definitely narcissistic. And to me, it was most important not to go in that direction. But I still, every so often, I'll say, please let me know that I haven't gone off the deep end here. Okay. With everything else that keeps happening to me, and it keeps happening, and I keep getting surprises, guys. So about myself and about life. And I'm like, oh my God. Yeah.
Got you. Well, it's great that we continue to be surprised. That's the main thing.
Absolutely.
I feel. Yeah. So what did you do with that? Because again, even when we do have these realizations, because I'm relating to what you're sharing, okay? And did you just stop acting overnight? Were you not acting, and did you say, "I'll just come out and go, right, I'm going to be a psychic reader"? Like, how did that evolve? Because it's a very.
I pushed it away as much as I could. Okay. As I said earlier, I thought psychics were kooks. And I was an actor, singer, dancer. All I cared about, I wanted an Oscar, an Emmy, and a Tony. That's all I cared about. Don't tell me I'm a spiritual teacher. Don't tell me I have to give this up. I'm not giving it up. It's my life. It's all that I've ever wanted. I'll go help my friend, but I can't give this up. And so I bucked it all the way. I bucked it so much, believe it or not. Now, this is interesting, and this will cause probably another couple of questions. I pushed away my power. You talk about the Kundalini energy. Well, that Kundalini energy, and I love the way that you use that, it's up to us, and not a pendulum, and not a crystal bed, to open up our own chakras. As a matter of fact, the book of Revelation is not a worldwide event. It's a personal event. The 7 seals that need to be broken and opened are our 7 chakras. And each one is packed because of our lifetimes here and all of the problems that we've created for ourselves. Each one is packed with that stuff that's going to come exploding out, but we have to be the ones to do that. Okay. So, wow. So that is part of it. And so when this was all happening, I was like, no, that is not what I want at all. And so I created at my 5th spiritual center on my brainstem a tumor. Right behind my throat here is a tumor. It's called a schwannoma. It's made of the spinal column cells. They're Schwann cells, named after the doctor who decided to label them. And a tumor is growing into my canal at the top, where all the higher function nerves go and are. If that tumor presses against any of those nerves or all of them, I lose all of my higher functions, okay? Wow. And because I was blocking the Kundalini energy, here I am, I'm given a path. I awaken all my power. And here's another reason. See, this is what I said earlier. Even Jesus was afraid that he was going to misuse the power or not use it right at all. This is the other reason why people don't want to awaken to it, because I stopped it right here. This is my will center. Your 5th spiritual center is your will center. And you're supposed to give in. What does that mean? Thy will be done on earth. It isn't about what God's will is. God is in your highest part. Your highest self is that spirit. And so if you're not giving over to that consciousness, right, and you're fighting it with your human consciousness, you're being willful. And that will cause a negative pocket of energy. And that negative pocket of energy sat right at my 5th spiritual center, and it caused a tumor. So it wasn't until I opened it up that I stopped the tumor from growing. Oh, it's still there. It's not reversed, but I kind of feel now it's a little dangling carrot to remind me, keep your, that energy flowing and use it. I meant to use it, and I do use it. And when I do use it, guide to the best of my ability, it is just transforming people's lives and helping them heal, which is all I care about. Is them believing in themselves and knowing they're magnificent divine beings. That's all I care about. And so as long as I use all of my power and allow even more come out, I mean, we're about ready to talk about this stuff. And this is what happened. All of this opened up, and it kept opening up wider and wider and wider to all aspects of life. So now I'm communicating with everything, and seeing everything and knowing everything. I'm not special because, like I said, I just bucked it. Other people went along with it who are more advanced than me, but everybody has this capacity. And this is what I'm trying to remind people of.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. I appreciate that. And we'll definitely get into the subject behind you in a moment. So, so you're right, though. It did ask me a question, a couple more. Was that when you were diagnosed? Because I'm personally, I'm always fascinated between the relationship between energy, emotions, and physical ailments that come out of the body. Were you aware at the time that they were related for yourself personally?
Oh no, not at all. Actually, what happened was I was a hospice social worker at that time. which was only in 2008. Okay. I had gone back to school so that I can get my psychotherapy degree, because I figured as long as I'm getting into the mind psychically, I want to make sure that I'm going to work the right way and not cause any damage. So I wanted to learn all about the human mind, and I did. And so one of the jobs that I did have is working with dying people. I figured I would learn so much about life if I was working with them while I was dying. Plus the mediumship part helped me to see them afterwards and all of that, so that I knew that they were okay. So there I am, learning about this, but all of a sudden the job itself started to get really businesslike, because I worked for a very, very big company, Duke University over here in North Carolina, right? And so it turned very business, and I wasn't liking it. And I wanted to get out of it. And unfortunately, I manifested away unwillingly. I didn't know I was going to do this, an automobile accident. And in that automobile accident, I sustained brainstem injury. And I had double vision, and I couldn't drive anymore. I couldn't see clearly. Okay. So in the process of them doing an MRI for that, they discovered the tumor. I still didn't put two and two together for that at all. I went as best I could. I tried to find some healers, and there is, over here in North Carolina, there is a teacher of the Barbara Brennan School of Energy Healing. Barbara Brennan took Reiki and went one step further with it. And she has a very successful school in Florida that teaches advanced courses in this energy healing. And so one of the teachers is located here in North Carolina, and I went to her. I figured, let me go to the best so that she can tell me what's going on and what I needed to do. And so she's going, and I didn't tell her anything about where it was. I just told her that I needed healing. And she stopped right here. And she says, good Lord. And she pulled her hands off of me, and she just turns around and says, I can't do a thing for you. I said, why? She says, because this is all up to you. I said, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to release something? She said, release is too simple of a word. No, there is more that you've got to do. And I don't know. I can't explain it to you. You've got to find that out for yourself. So that was the moment that I realized, wait a minute, I'd been bucking this system. I've not wanted to do this full time at all. I was doing it part time. Right. But because I was in this automobile accident, it took me out of the job, and I could no longer even be a social worker and have my own practice, because in North Carolina, in order to have your license to practice, you needed a license to drive, because there's so much outreach program here. OK, so I couldn't do any of it. And this fell into my lap full time. People were calling me up for readings. I went to a weekend retreat with Hay House that was teaching Become a Mover and Shaker. And that drew me in. I saw that email just pop up in my email that I'd never seen before. So that drew me in. And then from that point on, it just kept growing. But that's when I put together, wait a minute, this is my power. This is that tumor there we all create. In my book, The Secret That's Holding You Back, I write about that, 5 reasons why we become ill. And it's all based on emotional beliefs and behaviors. And so I knew then that somehow, some way, I've got to allow myself to step into my power and not be afraid of it. And that's how I finally discovered that it stopped growing. But that's what it took for me to understand the connection. So it didn't come right away. Just because I have this psychic sense doesn't mean I listen to my own intuition that quickly. Sometimes it has to go the long way in order for Vincent Genna to be able to accept it, because I am a New Yorker, I am Italian, and I'm obstinate and arrogant. So yes, and stubborn. So all of that above. And so everything has to come to me in pieces before I start accepting them, but I accept them now.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Well, let's go there, because you were pointing to your beautiful background behind you.
Yeah, these guys over here, yeah.
Incredible, huge spacecraft on the back. And it's a topic I haven't really covered on the podcast before. So I'm intrigued as well, because what I'm interested in is when all these energy centers or chakras started to open up for you, and you said you really took your power back, was the connection then coming from through working with the third eye, or was it a very physical thing? How does it work, and how do you perceive it?
Well, the psychic sense with the third eye, and it's not a third eye, it's your mind's eye. of course, everything related to us, as soon as the paranormal world and the metaphysical world, the new age world opened up, we wanted to put new age labels on old age things. Okay. It's not a third eye just because you have two here, one here. No. First of all, the reason why you have the mind's eye here, it's the pineal or the pineal gland, the pineal gland, whichever way you want to pronounce it. And it's the mind's eye. The moment we were born with as humans, the brain has its own eye because it sees in images. It thinks actually in images. So if I tell everybody to imagine a bed, they don't see the word BED. The first thing they see is a picture of a bed. And so, which is why a child who has never seen a bed before would have no idea what a bed is because they haven't seen the picture. Right? You can spell out the word BED, but it still wouldn't know what it is. That's the mind's eye. Well, the mind also has an inner ear. We could talk to ourselves, right? That is through the mind's inner ear. We can close our eyes, see images. We can stop hearing on the outside, or at the same time that we're hearing on the outside, we can hear on the inside. That's the mind's ear. Then there's the inner knowing, where you just get a sense. That's where the intuition is. You just get a feeling, right? Or you can get a physical feeling because of your sixth sense of your fifth sense of touch and everything that happens to stimulate the body in some way externally. All of that opens up for us as you open up this channel and allow this intuition to grow. And that's what I wound up doing. It came to me first as vision and audio, and then at knowing for sure. And the more I worked on myself and started to work on these abilities, they kept opening more and more and more. That's what happens. If I can liken the picture to a channel in your heart area, okay? Which is interesting. Oh, people have all these different images, an umbilical cord, whatever you want to think of, but just think of this channel. I like to simplify things between your conscious mind and your unconscious mind, where your intuition and the soul's mind is. And the soul's mind is where you're connected to the highest sources and the other realms and the other dimensions. Okay. And your oversoul. I like Edgar Casey referred to your original soul that the God force created as your oversoul. And these that we're here with are just pieces of that oversoul, but not the whole soul. So you want to tap into the whole soul. So there's that channel there. Now, yes, you can open it through practice and listening and really paying attention to what you see. If you see a shadow, is that really just a figment of your imagination, or is there a spirit going by? The more you acknowledge these things, the stronger the talent and the ability gets. But also, and as I teach it, I teach both psychic and mediumship skills. Working on that stuff that bogs down your mind, that negative stuff, all that stuff from your past, all that stuff from your childhood, what everybody calls the baggage or the buttons, it doesn't matter. That has a very easy tendency of keeping that channel closed. So anything that negative goes on in your life, fear, doubt, whatever it is, skepticism, anger, resentment, all those negative emotions, closes that channel. So at the same time that you may be practicing opening it up and listening, you've got to clear the mind as well so that channel can keep opening. I did both. I researched and studied. Even though I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do with this, I was still very curious about it. I studied all I could. For 40 years, that's all I did. Study Edgar Casey material, all different philosophers material, all different spiritual teachers material, paranormal material. So I did what I could to understand what was going on. At the same time, I worked on myself and healing myself. And both my wife and I do that. We've been together 50 years, married 45, and that's the reason why, because we worked on ourselves and our pains from our past so that we could evolve and grow psychologically and also physically, but also spiritually. And so that kept opening the channel more and more and more and more. The more it kept opening, new abilities came in. So I was first psychic, then the mediumship part came in. After both the mediumship and the psychicness, and I'm still working on them, right? And I go to class, I go to school. I went over to England to the Arthur Findlay College of Psychic Sciences so that I can learn how to perfect those skills, right? I did that for 2 years. Wow. And so the next thing that happened, I started hearing animals. I started hearing pets. And now I was able to help people with their pets. I've spoken with dogs. I had a military dog that was famous dog for a handler who was deceased that was killed in his first place in going to Afghanistan, his first command. And he died there. And the dog was given to his mother and family, and I communicated with that dog and brought the handler in, the son in. It was amazing. Then after that, I got a phone call to try to heal a horse and a donkey. Go figure. I mean, I've talked to a lot of jackasses in my life, but never a real one. And so I had this real one that came along. And then I had a conversation with Coco the gorilla. Coco was a very famous gorilla here who learned sign language. And so I got into, Coco allowed me to enter her mind and got all this incredible information about who we are and about life. Unfortunately, she died a couple of years ago of heartbreak. And so I got into her, and then this realm opened up. Unexpectedly, I was always interested in aliens. I never thought them to be harmful or anything like that from the beginning. But I couldn't focus on that in my career. I had to focus on my psychic and my mediumship abilities, mm-hmm. right? But then one day I get a communication as I'm sitting here in the office, just like I'm talking to you right now in front of my computer. I just finished doing a client reading, and I hear them and they introduce themselves. And from that point on, I opened that connection. But it took a lot of that work to open that channel and clear that channel out. And I still work on it and I still try to perfect my skills. But yes, they came along and wow. I asked why. And they introduced themselves to me. Well, the way they did it, it was really funny. I'm sitting here and all of a sudden I'm doing work and all of a sudden I hear in my inner ear, right? I hear, we would like to talk with you. And there were no spirits around. Okay. So now I'm looking at my plants in my office. I'm going, oh God, is the ficus tree trying to communicate with me? What? You need watering? I didn't feed you? What's going on? I don't know. And they said, no, it's us. And now my heart starts beating. I'm like, okay, who's us now? Because in my world, I'm not surprised at anything, but it does mystify me. And I'm like, oh God, what else is going to start talking to me now? And they said, we're an intergalactic spirit council. An intergalactic spirit council. You're talking like Star Trek? There's an intergalactic council? Well, it was like, not exactly, but yes. And I said, well, who are you? Well, we are made of spirits from all different universes. Oh, so you're a bunch of alien spirits. Yes, if that's the way you want to say it. Yes, we are. We're extraterrestrials. I'm like, oh my God. Now, all right, I had to tell my wife that I was psychic 40 years ago, mediumship about 35 years ago, talked to animals about 10 years ago. Now I've got to tell her I'm talking with aliens. She definitely is going to want to have an intervention. And so that was the craziest thing. That's how I was introduced. I said, why are you talking to me? Mm. And they said, because of your belief in us and because of the work that you're doing and getting out there publicly, you're the best one to talk with to be able to teach people who we really are and why we're really coming to your planet. And it was like, wow. At that same time, and here is somebody that you would definitely like to have on your show, is Christopher Bledsoe Sr. Christopher Bledsoe Sr. You have no idea who he is, but he is now noted as the one who has had the most connection and interaction with extraterrestrials and UFOs. The FBI, the CIA, NASA, and the Vatican all have worked with him, threatened his life, as well as worked with him. There was just recent study. A matter of fact, if you Google the History Channel Beyond Skinwalker Ranch. Skinwalker Ranch was a series that they had, and Beyond Skinwalker Ranch was a new one. And Christopher Bledsoe, you will see scientific study that finally came to prove all of his work. Well, this gentleman I was introduced to at the same time this happened to me, and we became very close friends. And so I've worked with Chris, and Chris gets to see these orbs come to him, and I know what they're saying and why they're coming, and it validates him and he validates me. And so the work together has gotten stronger. And every time I speak about it, there are, like I've been on Gaia TV, Beyond Belief with George Norrie, and he got videos to validate all the stuff that I was saying, which has been amazing. So because as a psychic, unless somebody says, yes, that's exactly, you hit the nail on the head, you don't know if you got anything right. So if I'm saying that I'm communicating with aliens, anybody can say that. Matter of fact, there are some people who do. And unless you can prove it and prove what you're saying could be coming from that source, it's not worth anything. People don't take it credibly, right? And so while I was speaking this and saying all of this stuff, there are other scientists and researchers who've discovered what I had said that was true. So their work was validating my work. And so that's how it happened. And I know that that's what I'm supposed to be helping with, as well as everything else, is getting people on track, because they're coming more and more and more and more. So yes, I'm answering your question. Are there aliens? Yes, they are. But very few people understand who they are.
For sure. Thank you. It's a fascinating topic, because there seems to be more and more like information coming out and out all the time. You know, you even got people like Joe Rogan talking about it, Russell Brand talking about it, these big independent networks. I mean, it's even on mainstream media that these sightings. And
there is, so but there's a reason for that. That's intentional. It's intentional.
I believe most things that come through the media are very intentional.
Well, it's not even, you know, it's really funny. People want to, and I did a lot of research on this guy, people want to blame the media for everything. The media doesn't create a thing. It's being used by everybody who wants to create something. And so because we have this media and all of this other stuff is coming out, we have a way of passing it around to the world, and the media is passing it around, but they're getting the information from other sources, right? And so it's important that we start listening to that, but it's absolutely true. There are more sightings because there are more visitations. There is going to be more communication because we need to translate. The unfortunate thing is, because of fear, humans, the human species jumps right to fear because they still don't know enough. When there's not enough knowledge, all that's left is fear. And so what winds up happening is we have to fight through the fear first in order to start really understanding this knowledge. And the first part of the fear is understanding they are not here to hurt us. All the conspiracy theories out there is that they're coming down and they're going to take over and they're going to suck the brains out of our heads, and the reptilians are going to come out from the earth and because they want to kill us. Who the heck wants anything to do with Earth right now? Do you think that these events, there's an absolute wonderful joke, and I don't know if you did this in Australia, but over here in the United States, whenever a family or people were driving in a car through a very disheveled, not so safe area, they would always turn around. Somebody in the car would say, lock the doors. Right? Because they're passing through a bad place. So now there's this wonderful meme that you see these aliens flying in a flying saucer, and one says to the other, where are we going right now? He says, well, we're passing Earth. And the other one turns around and says, ooh, lock the doors. Yeah. It's like, that's how we are compared to them. And they are no more than our brothers and sisters who were created at the exact same time we all were. They just decided to go to different worlds and different universes because there was several created, and they advanced quicker than we did. We don't like thinking that there's anything more advanced than us. But let me tell you something. We are the most primitive of all the species in the whole world. And they are the ones that are helping to expedite our evolvement. They've come down here since the beginning of us because they went so fast in their evolvement that they were very surprised that we were lagging behind. And they actually helped originally by splicing the original human DNA that was here and mixing it with some of their old DNA to hasten our growth, which is why 11,000 some odd years ago was the first appearance of modern man. And here's the interesting part of that guy and the proof of this. If you get your DNA tested, like we have companies here called 23andMe, right? You get your DNA tested, they'll tell you if any percentage of your DNA comes from Neanderthal and how much comes from modern man. They have it separated because they're two different DNA strands. Not evolved, not one that evolved into another, so there is no link. We are not related to the Sasquatch, and Sasquatch is not the missing link between gorillas and humans. Nope. That was the first attempt to create a modern man, which failed. And so the second attempt created modern man. And that's why there are two totally different DNA strands to describe where we've come from. And this was written in the Bible that many years ago in the Old Testament in the story of Cain and Abel. For those who don't remember this story, Cain and Abel, that was a story that Cain and Abel were brothers. Cain was the older son. Abel was the second son, the younger son. And Cain was very jealous of Abel because he thought mom and dad loved him more. And so eventually Cain wound up killing him out of jealousy, right? And God turns around to Cain and says, "Where's your brother?" Because he knew exactly what happened. God knew exactly what happened, right? And Cain says, "Well, am I my brother's keeper?" And the non-answered question refers, yes, you are your brother's keeper. But the important part that nobody pays attention to or repeats, God said to Cain, "You're cast out of the Garden of Eden, and you can no longer procreate with those of your kind. You can only procreate with those of the earth." Who was he referring to? Nobody questions that. And because there was no answer to it, nobody even decided to write a translation for it. They just figured they'd ignore that part. But some reason, the soul who was writing that part of the story threw that in because that soul knew something that needed to be said for us to be able to eventually come back and answer. Who were those of the earth? Those were the Neanderthals. And that's where the DNA strand came from that the aliens spliced to make modern man, because we were taking too long to evolve, and it would have taken forever to go from, we already think that the earth is billions of years old and that man is thousands and thousands of years old. If we didn't just appear standing straight up with a little bit more intelligence, it would have taken forever for that to happen. That's why they started visiting the earth to start with. And Albert Einstein always knew the type of beings they were. He believed in aliens, but he always knew they were benevolent and not malevolent. He always knew that because he said, in order to escape your universe and its atmospheric and whatever, all the things that surround the universe itself, and to go into another universe, you have to have command of spiritual principles. And that was the only way that you can get away from your universe. Command of spiritual principles, so you knew how to dematerialize and rematerialize someplace else. That actually takes a deeper spiritual understanding of who we really are. And so therefore, aliens could only be benevolent, not malevolent, as some people would think they are in all the movies show.
Wow, that's a really good point. Do you only hear them? Do you see them? And where is the planet at right now? Why is it all happening now?
Okay,
Why are they interjecting?
Well, you just answered your own question without even knowing that you answered your own question. The answer is where the planet, just reverse the way you asked it.
Yeah.
Where the planet is right now is the reason why it's all happening now.
Right.
Because the planet is in total chaos and shambles because we are. And I'm sorry. I am not one of the spiritual teachers and authors who are going to sit here and tell everybody that everything is going in a wonderful direction and that it is beautiful and we have to go down to a low point before we really grow. That is all absolute nonsense. We have been going to low points since the beginning of time, and we never, ever, ever come out of it that much more advanced. We are still fighting equality of humans. That started centuries ago. And now we've come back to make it even worse. We're going backwards in time. What makes us think just because Apple makes of an iPhone and a whole computer is in this little phone that we're advanced? No, we're not. We're advanced technologically, but not civilly, not spiritually. We mistreat each other. We hurt each other. And look at what's happening to the earth right now. There is crisis after crisis after crisis after crisis all over the world, not just here, everywhere. Floods, volcanic eruptions that never were supposed to erupt again, tsunamis, earthquakes, fires burning up whole villages of people, okay? It is absolutely ridiculous, and that is completely caused by the hatred and the anger that is going on this planet today from the beings that have the most energy. When we were created, we were told that we would have dominion after the physical universes were created. We were told right away, you would have dominion over everything that's physical because your vibration is the highest vibration there could be. And because what were we told? There was a God source. And again, this is not religion. It was a philosophy. Right? It was translated into a religious practice, but there was a philosophy that we were created by something big and powerful, and that we were created in its image, which means we have its power. Okay? So if it's in its image, and we were told you got to be responsible with that, because when we're creating all these universes here for you to go down and discover this about yourself, because that's what we have to do. We know things, but we don't know we know them until we experience them. Go experience what you know. And so, but remember, you are very powerful, so you can affect everything down there, including your bodies. So just learn so that you can understand this. Well, we are creating not only such trauma with the earth, but as a hospice social worker, Guy, I cannot tell you the different things that people died of that I had never heard of in my life and that nobody ever heard of. I had patients that had cancer under the pinky nail and died of it because it metastasized everywhere in their body. Cancer of the tongue, where this gentleman's tongue is hanging out of his mouth with tumors on it, choking him to death, and they couldn't remove them all because it was inoperable, and he died of cancer. All these people all over the place, all these diseases. We just had the pandemic. So what's happening is because of us and having dominion, we're creating all these viruses and cancers and illnesses. Thus, the aliens are coming down. They're abducting people. Oh my gosh, they're abducting people because they're hurting us. They want to take over. Do you know how long ago those aliens could have destroyed this entire planet if that was their intention? Okay, a long time ago, right? But nobody wants to put that up here. It's common sense. So why are they coming then? Why are they abducting? Because they need to research. They're trying to resplice our genetics so that our bodies can learn how to heal the diseases we're creating so fast. But we're creating diseases faster than the body is evolving to take care of them. We're over 11,000 years old. Obviously, our bodies fought off all these diseases and all these bacteria in the past. There's bacteria floating around in the earth all the time. So we fought it off then, but we are having a real difficult time fighting it off now and trying to help us. And have you heard of the Skinwalker Ranch thing over here? Okay. Well, there is this place where a whole bunch, it's a ranch. Oh my gosh, what it's in New Mexico. Oh my gosh, I forgot what state it is, Nevada or something, where there's a whole bunch of UFO sightings. But then on top of that, a whole bunch of dead cattle, but not dead because animals killed them, because parts of them were sliced off. Okay. And so it's a big mystery, and it's a very famous television show, right? That's in its third season now, of course, right? And nobody understands why they're doing that. What's happening? Are the aliens doing this? And the funny thing is, once they're spliced and there's the animal carcass there, no other animals go to eat it. The funny thing is, the intuition and the temperament in animals, they know what foods to eat and not to eat out there. They know what poison berries are, and they don't eat them, and they don't eat anything that's infected or handled the wrong way. Now, all animals eat other dead animals, right? It's easy. Oh, look, we got a buffet here. They laid out the beef and the steak already. Yeah, hey, I want a ribeye, and they'll go after it. But they're not touching those cattle. But they are perfectly engineered, sliced in different parts, as if they were dissected, and they were dissected. What is our biggest complaint and food that we're supposed to avoid because of heart disease, too much fat in it? What do they keep telling you? Which meat do they tell you don't eat? Beef.
Red meat.
Red meat. Right. So the aliens are dissecting and they're researching what is in this meat that is hurting these human bodies. And there is where they're instilling the understanding that it's processed meat, what they're being fed, all different things like that. But they are trying to research it. They can't put a cow in their UFO. They can take a chicken. There's a lot of chickens missing. They want to think that other animals are eating them. Well, they take a chicken. They're being dissected. They're being researched. But you can't take a cow, so you can take a piece of cow. And that's all they're doing. So this isn't a mystery. And so they tell me they need to know we're only doing this to try to help them. And so, yes, are we hybrids? We're hybrids. Are they making hybrids? But they're not making all aliens. They're purposely trying to keep the human DNA going. So it has to be added to something else in order to keep it going. And that's what they're doing. And so we have to understand that they're trying to help us also learn how to take care of our planet and ourselves, because we're destroying it, literally destroying it. So that's the gist of it, really. And I know that that was, believe it or not, that was the Reader's Digest abridged version.
Well, it's a deep topic, mate. I'm conscious of my time on this end, but I want to ask a question for the listener listening to this right now, because we can get caught up in other extraterrestrials or not, and I want to manifest my dream house or whatever it might be. And
that's right.
There's a lot of bypass. What would you say? What would you suggest we do as individuals right now to support ourselves and support the planet? Like feel like we can start to empower ourselves.
All right. That's exactly what you have to do, is empower yourself before you empower the planet, because what you do to empower yourself then just falls right over into helping others and empowering other people. So it always had to start with the self. And that's the reason why I wrote my book. And it's all about, and my work is all about going in and healing. Because here's the funny part about humans and the brain. The two highest functions of the brain is, one, to keep us alive, two, to protect us in order to keep us alive. Well, when we first come here and we incarnate as children, right, we're receiving a lot of negative messages from the environment, especially these days, right? And it's been passed down from generation to generation. So we don't feel lovable. We don't feel good enough. We don't feel smart enough. We don't feel all of those things. I call them the I'm not good enough. I'm not lovable enough. I'm not worthy enough. So we develop all of these bad feelings about ourselves. Well, the brain knows that we can't function like that and contribute to society walking around with those feelings. So what it does, it creates all different defense mechanisms to hide and shield us from those feelings. So back as a psychotherapist, we used to call them coping skills. And we knew that people who came to us who had major depressive disorder, anxiety disorder, they lacked some of those coping skills. So they were walking around with the feeling of, I'm not good enough. And it didn't make a difference how old they were. Kids, adults, seniors, right? They all had the same kind of feelings when they had major depression and anxiety, things like that. So we taught them those skills. But everybody else who doesn't have those feelings are walking around with different set of beliefs to shield them from those. All right, why does that matter if they're coping in the world? Well, because we come to understand that we're more than just body and mind. We're body, mind, and spirit. We're more than just wanting to achieve a nice home here, because we can have the home and still feel unfulfilled and unhappy. Maybe our relationships aren't working. Maybe we have that home, but now we don't have any finances to take care of it. So we're all out of balance because we've forgotten who we are. So those protective mechanisms come in, and you don't know why all of this is happening, but then you hear this wonderful concept and idea that we're more than these physical beings, and we hear about the law of attraction and the law of manifesting, those kinds of things, that you can create the life you want. Thus, the New Age, New Thought movement comes along and opens up this understanding. And so now, today, in 2023, we have a plethora of all of this information and knowledge and old world wisdom that was ancient wisdom to start with, that's back in force now by the droves. There's books, there's videos, there's lectures, there's cards, there's all these affirmations everywhere to remind us of that. And people keep practicing it, but they still can't make it work. Why? Because people don't believe what they think they believe. That set of beliefs that was created by your defense mechanisms are false beliefs, because right under the surface are the true beliefs. I'm not good enough. I'm not deserving. I'm not lovable. And so that's hidden, but that's where we're connected to the law of attraction and manifesting, not in our conscious minds, in our unconscious minds. So we have to get what's in there, bring it out, and change the beliefs. That's what my work is all about. I do that on a daily basis with my clients. I do that using my psychic ability, the mediumship ability, and all the knowing ability, all the clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudio. I'm clairall. And that was a product, a hair color product over here in the United States. But that's who I am. And that's what I use to help people bring that up to the surface, first recognize it, bring it up to the surface, and change it so that they can have abundance in love, abundance in finances, abundance in a rewarding career, abundance in wellness and vitality, because we are capable of having all of that if we dominate and we have dominion over everything that's physical. Then that means we can make everything as wonderful as we want it to be and create the life of our dreams and heal ourselves from all these diseases. So it has to start within. And then you automatically start sharing that and being a light to the world. That's what's meant by letting your light shine. You cannot shine when you have darkness inside of you.
Wow. Well, that's a beautiful place to end the podcast today, Vincent. There's a lot to leave the listeners to ponder on through today. I feel we could have recorded 10 podcasts easily.
Yeah, that's usually what happens with me because I talk so much.
No, it's beautiful, mate. It's just sitting back here listening to you. Wow. So where can we send them? I'll put the links in the show notes if they want to find more of your work.
That would be great.
Where do they go?
All they have to do is go to vincentgenna.com. That's with a Genna. I have all my links there to my social media, also to my podcast, which is called The Genna Effect, Become Unstoppable. And I've got several of those already created with a lot of this kind of information to help people on a daily basis and what to do. I've got means like my book. You can go to my book on Amazon, and the UK sells it. It's being sold all over the world in audio, in an ebook, or in the paperback. And so you can write to me. I respond back to people. I don't have people taking care of that. I respond to everybody and answer questions. And of course, then you can set up an appointment with me and have a reading. But go to my website at vincentgenna.com, sign up over there for the newsletters. And then that's the best way to reach out in all of the places that I am.
Thank you. And can you say the title of your book one more time? Because I know people will jump on Audible straight away when they...
Yes, it's The Secret That's Holding You Back. Wait, is that backwards? You see?
No, that's perfect.
Oh, okay,
perfect.
Good. The Secret That's Holding You Back. Become unstoppable. What's holding you back? Nothing anymore. So yes, go to Amazon.com or wherever, any bookstore online, you can order it.
Good on you, Vincent. Look, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Guy, it's been an absolute pleasure. And I got to tell you something, being called mate is a dream of mine, and I love it. And that's one of the reasons why I've got to come over to Australia, because you say the greatest things and have some of the greatest accents. I love them.
Good on you. Thanks, Ray. Cheers.
Thank you. Goodbye.